So now it's a real privilege to be able to introduce to you Helen George, TV and stage actress, best known to you, I'm sure, for her role as the much-loved Trixie Franklin in BBC's Call the Midwife, which, of course, as a series, addresses a lot of social justice issues. She's received critical acclaim for her varied stage roles, including Trevor Nunn's revival of Terence Rattigan's Love in Idleness. And of course, we shouldn't overlook the fact that she also reached the semi-finals of BBC's Strictly Come Dancing in 2015. Unfortunately, she can't be with us live tonight, but this piece has been especially recorded for tonight's event. And she also makes another little announcement at the start, so spot that. Helen will read a sad and moving poem by Elizabeth Arif. I will let Helen introduce the poem. After she's read the piece, the author, Elizabeth Arif, will be joining us live to talk about her poetry. And I can see her on the screen at the moment, so that's great. So thanks, Pete.
Hello, it's Helen George here. Thank you so much for having me as part of your Festival of Social Justice. Excited to be part of the evening, a shame we can't be there in person, but I've also joined Amnesty, so looking forward to attending future events. This evening I will be reading a poem by Liz Arif called Angel Beneath the Ground. It tells the tragic tale of a family awaiting the birth excitedly of their child. When this child is born and is found out to be a girl, they feel unable to raise her and she is unfortunately killed. A tragic poem. I wish you all the best with this evening for spreading awareness for social justice and indeed amnesty. A beacon of love, hope and joy. She was merely a seed, not yet a girl or boy. A precious gift of mercy and shining light. How could she ever have known of her upcoming fight? Instead, this little gift grew and blossomed amongst the beating soul of her mother so dear, in a cocoon of warmth and love, with never a thought of fear. Yet day after day, and with the passing of each new night, she also moved closer and closer towards the eternal light. For as the days, weeks, and months passed by, so too drew nearer her mother's cry. And as her mother's screams of pain eventually called out loud, the new parents waited anxiously to become ever so proud. Yet as the screams grew louder and louder, and the truth drew near, the cocoon of love and comfort instead transformed into fear. For as the shining light above her legs grew brighter and the blessing of life was born, the truth was revealed and the parents were torn. Revealed in bare, blunt truth was the fear of disappointment, poverty and shame, for which this one would never ever be blessed with a name. Alas, sadly, the reality of life, so small, warm and true, was just too much for the family with money so few. Having so quickly entered into the burning light of day, in the eternal life this little one would now find her way. For this joyous blessing would return to the light after the passing of darkness and pain. Torn away from those who would never have treated her brother the same. For a toddler, a child, an adult, she would never be free. Yes, she would never be cherished, welcomed, nor even found. For instead, she was now an angel beneath the ground.
Thank you, Helen. And now if we go to Liz, live, talking about her poetry.
Good evening, everybody. So as was pointed out, that was a poem that I wrote after watching a documentary about female infanticide in India. A UN report that came out in 2020 revealed that India and China were the biggest countries that undertook female infanticide, both in sex-selective abortion, that's 90 to 95% of cases, and also in post-birth death, for example, by feeding infants poisoned milk, smothering them, or drowning them. I watched a documentary about this and was moved by it, and that was one of the poems that I featured in my book. As a writer, I loved poetry as a child, but sort of lost a bit of interest in that. And then as a teenager, started getting involved with Amnesty, much more human rights activities, and that's just sort of become my life as an activist and writer. I set up a blog and was, passionate writing about all the different issues that were happening in the world. But I came back to poetry. It was around the time of the siege of Eastern Ghouta in Syria. The conflict in Syria has been 10 years now, and it was really a climax where in Eastern Ghouta, the community was basically under siege. And I really felt that despite all the petitions we were signing, all the awareness that was being raised, all the letters to MPs, it really kind of got to an emotional point where at that point I thought, how much more can be done? Aid was getting through, but with a lot of difficulty. And I really started to reflect and think about the people in that situation. And that's when I penned the poem, What If It Were You? That's really a reflection on imagining what if it were us in that situation, that helpless situation. And I thought, okay, this is going well, and got great feedback from loved ones. And I started an anthology, which Angel Beneath the Ground is another poem in that collection. The book deals with lots of different issues. There are some strong themes in there, such as child rights, so the female infanticide, FGM, child marriage, LGBT persecution, lots of all the different kinds of issues that we deal with at Amnesty. And that became the book, What If It Were You? It's a real honour to have Helen George read the poem, as we can all appreciate female infanticide is a complete horror and it needs to stop. That's a bit about me. If anybody's got any questions, feel free. I'm now working on my second poetry manuscript. This time it's more autobiographical, so it's focusing on feminism and faith, so a bit of a spiritual journey, me going through some gender-related struggles as a Muslim woman. So I'm hoping that'll be engaging, but in a different kind of way, but still obviously within the theme of gender equality, social justice, the theme of human rights, something that I'm passionate about. I'm working on that. Don't know when it'll be finished, but hopefully it'll be out soon. Thank you,
Liz. Thank you. And certainly, having been involved in this festival, it's meant that I've been introduced to so many more people and their work. So that is really good to hear. So does anybody have any questions for Liz? Just unmute yourself. Be brave. It might just be a bit too late in the evening.
I'm sure it's been a long day for everybody.
Everybody's stunned.
Linda, there was one point, I don't know if I missed it because I was sorting something else out. But Liz, am I right that the sale of your book, some of the proceeds are going to one of the charities, is that right?
Yeah, Freedom from Torture. Yeah.
Which is great.
I think there's a coupon code that's been put out by the publishers for a discount. I think it's £8 rather than 10, and I think £1 of that's going to Freedom from Torture. There's full information on their social media and I think on the website. But if you've got any questions, just get in touch.
That's really kind. We saw the little film about Freedom from Torture earlier on because one of our other performers, Jenna, was also donating proceeds from the sales of her poetry. So
I came into contact with volunteers from them when I was at uni, and yeah, amazing charity. Yeah.
She's got its fist up in the air. Thank you.